Well, shit. Out here in the garage, pulled an all-nighter, dicking around with some SBCs, the old small block Chevys. But I was thinking, putting together a plan for this unit here. It don't look like much now, but after I get done with it, it'll look like new money. But what we have here is a 1965 L-79 327 small block Chevy. Come out of a 65 Chevelle Super Sport. Pretty damn good old engines. They were factory rated at 350 horse. I forgot the torque. It's like 360 or so. Somewhere in that neighborhood, but it's not really what they made stock. It's what they can make. From the factory, these little bastards had 11-to-1 compression. They had the old 461 heads on them, the old double humps, like those type. Those are 291s, but 461s look just like them. But this engine came stock with 461s. But I got these angle plug 292 turbo heads. They're mid-70s crane fireball cylinder heads. They're pretty badass. I made another video talking about them. Didn't really know what the hell I want to do with them, but I believe I figured it out. I'm going to build this 327 up. I'm going to use all old school shit on the outside. Build it like a late 70s small block Chevy racing engine. It'll have not really modern shit, but on the inside it'll have H-beam rods, and I'm going to use the stock forged crankshaft and H-beam connecting rods. I have a set of Venolia pistons. They're like 12.5-to-1 compression, big domes. I think they're early 80s. But one of them's kind of fucked up. It's got some, it got detonated hard, and I wouldn't want to use that one. So if I use that set of pistons, I'd have to find a match to that set, and of course all the shit's gonna be balanced, but finding one of them old Venolia pistons would be kind of tricky, so I'm probably just gonna have to say fuck it and buy a new set of pistons for it. Don't know which ones yet, but I'm gonna build it with about 13-to-1 compression ratio. The big fucking 650 lift, solid roller cam, big crane. I forgot the specs on that bastard. 312, 322 advertised, 272, 282, 50, 650, 641 lift, 110 lobe separation, 118, 321 crane solid roller. Stick that cam in it. Then I'm going to use this Holley Strip Dominator intake. Those things, that one's port matched. It lines up pretty good with the ports on these heads. I'm fitting up different intakes and shit on it, and this old Strip Dominator just happens to fit it pretty good. That's an old Mallory Unilite marine distributor. Holley Double pump. That's 750 Holley Double pumper, but I got an 830 disassembled. I'll probably put back together and stick on it. This block was cast October 28th of 64. There's the casting date. K2864. 327. But these old ass heads, these fuckers are 50 years old. But these things, they flow more than most people would believe. And they were getting 600 fucking horsepower out of 350s with these heads in the late 70s. And running 500 miles wide open. Fucking NASCAR tracks and shit. A lot of them ended up on drag cars, and hell, I remember seeing Econo altered small block Chevy drag engines, like small cubic inch. There was 307s and shit making 550 horse. These fucking heads and big roller cams and high compression Strip Dominator intakes. So I'm gonna do this one just like it's 1978 or so. I got these valve covers here. They're just plain fucking tall steel, stamped steel valve covers. Painted them orange. I might just stick some. I have several sets of gold Moroso valve covers. I'll probably end up sticking a pair of them on it. Keep it all old school. I'll probably use a gold timing chain cover also. And then paint the block and heads, fresh coat of orange. I got this old Chevy 2 mallet and oil pan. Use that on it. But this fucking 327, 30 over, 331, 332 cubic inch. These fucking heads, what they flow, that cam and shit. This engine make 550 plus horsepower. Turn 8,500 RPM. Need about a 6,000 stall and a 513 gear to make it act right. Preferably in a lightweight vehicle, which I have a few cars sitting around that would work out well in. But I'm going to do it old school. Except there'll be, like I said, modern connecting rods and shit in it. But you can't see none of that from the outside, so modern pack valve spring or PSI valve springs. So I'm gonna put in it. Manton push rods and shit. And then I have a brand new set of 1991 Crane Gold roller rockers. They're 1.55 ratio, 7/16 stud, and Crane stud girdles. I'm going to use a 3/8 diameter push rod in it, like 120 wall thickness, 140, whatever the fuck they are, they're thick as hell. But it's going to be a high RPM little screamer. I'm going to use the stock steel fucking crank in it. I might take a grinder to it though and knife edge it before I take it to the balance shop. Take a little weight off of it and make it cut through the fucking oil better. Knife edge the leading edge of the throws. Pick up horsepower doing that shit. And it's just a matter of doing it. I wouldn't mind using aluminum rods in it. I'm thinking about using aluminum rods. Hell, I found a set of new old stock Mickey Thompson aluminum rods. I think they're from the 70s, but they're fucking never used. Dude wants like $500 for them. That's a hell of a deal. Fucking aluminum rods are expensive as hell these days. Them old Mickey Thompson aluminum rods were pretty damn beefy. They'll hold some shit and it'll make it rev like a son of a bitch. That big old cam, just 650 lift cam, but that 1.55 ratio would give it, it'd be about 665, 670 lift. Big motherfucker. If I find me a good deal on a small block Chevy tunnelram and a couple of 660 center squirters or something, I might go that route, but trying to use as much shit I have just laying around collecting dust. So, and these old Holley Strip Dominators, they're proven that they'll do the trick. I've used them for fucking years. I built a few 327s that turned some extremely high RPMs too, using those fucking intakes. Well, that old strip dominator there is about as good as this fucking Brodix single plane on this one. All actuality. Shit ain't got that much better over the years. On a dyno, between this intake and this intake, you wouldn't find much difference. This 355 there, it's ready to go into something. Ain't made up my mind yet. I might stick it in my Blazer for now, here in the near future. 95 Blazer. I'm getting the Jones to fuck with this 327. And got all this old school shit, so I thought I might build it like it would have been done back in the day. A lot of people don't think you can make that kind of power with old fucking 50-year-old cast iron GM cylinder heads, but you can. There's people doing better than that. A typical super stock 327 with 461 casting heads on it, they're just over 600 horse with a fucking Carter AFB, the original carb that came on them, flat top pistons, built under a lot of rules and shit, and they're over 600 fucking horse with ported 461s. These heads are better than 461s, and they're well ported. They flow like a son of a bitch. And that cam, that's about a, I guess your current day super stockers are running some crazy fucking cams, but wasn't that long ago. The cam I'm putting in here was a typical super stock cam, like back in the 80s and shit. This engine can make over 550 horse with these old cast iron fucking heads. With all this old shit, this old ass intake, old technology. That fucking distributor's 40 fucking years old. It still works. Well, that old pan, it's, I guess, from the 80s, late 80s or so. So it ain't exactly fucking new itself. But I like the old ways of doing shit. It's just something more cool. Those days were cooler than shit is today, even though for the most part most shit's faster nowadays. Everybody's got 5,000 horse. You watch enough YouTube videos, you think everybody got a 5,000 horse LS in their shit, but in the real world, not so much. So this old shit, there's still a place for it. I guarantee you the fucking power this engine will make scare the shit out of 99% of the population. I've had cars that are so fucking rowdy, just the way they sound and the way I drive them and shit, people wouldn't even fucking ride with me. They're too scared to even climb in that fucking machine. I'm calmed down now because I'm fucking old, but when I was a young buck, and I got tore up all the time, and I drove around in race cars and shit, and I drove them like I fucking stole them. Didn't give a shit. Thought I'd live forever. But now, I had my old yellow truck. I took it for a ride night before last, and some squirrel in a 4th gen Camaro wanna play race car driver, and that old gearhead in me just couldn't let this fucker pass me, so the race was on. I had the old truck howling along, 7 grand in 4th, which is about 145, 150 mile an hour in that motherfucker. On the highway for like 10 miles. When I got off on my exit, and old boy threw me the thumbs up. He couldn't get around me. He was digging the old truck, I guess. You drive around in hot rods, and all of a sudden, everybody's a race car driver. Be a motherfucker in a stock Prius light go green and they fucking put it to the wood. Usually I just pay that shit no mind, but sometimes I'm feeling extra spicy. I might go ahead and humor them. I play. What's the point in having race car shit on your car if you ain't gonna give it hell occasionally? And fucking moving shit around in here. Got a little congested. I got 20-something engines in here I'm fucking building. Then got a garage down the road full of fucking engines too. I have them in another spot. There's fucking everywhere. I push this old 454 here out of the way for the moment and I'm dicking around with this unit. I got my power chair hooked up to it. And it's fucking, but I'm pre-oil it and go over the valve train and shit. And I might take the carburetor off my truck and stick on it just to start it. This one's been sitting for a few years. It might have dried up on me, I don't know yet, but I don't want no problems. Initial startup. I built this fucking engine about 5 years ago and I never even fucking started it. So, time to do something with it. It's a pretty healthy unit. I just got these little Schoenfield zoomy headers on here to start it on a dolly. Of course, it'll have some big fuckers with collectors in the vehicle, which I might stick this in my old yellow truck. Just it bolt right in. I already got big ass fender well headers on it and shit, so this one here has got a bigger cam in it than what's in my truck now. It's got more down to the heads. It's got a little more compression. It's got a solid roller. And the truck's got a hydraulic roller in it now. So this one should make a little more horsepower than the current unit. So I might go ahead and put this in the fucking truck. It's got a strip dominator on it too. It's a pretty old one. It's 80s. That's an 850 double pumper Holley. Got a big Crower solid roller in it. I got my fucking starter switch and my battery. I gotta run me a fuel line to a tank. I got a Mallory regulator and shit on it. Got a Mallory 140 pump on it. But this fucker been sitting around long enough. I'm starting to get concerned about it, so I'll go ahead and get it running and probably get it in my fucking truck here pretty soon. It'll be a good unit for the pickup. And I got this old small block here I need to do something with too. Need to do something with a lot of shit. It's just fucking, I gotta drop that block off at the machine shop tomorrow. But thinking about the old 327 here and what I want to do with it and what kind of power I want it to make. exactly which vehicle I'll put it in. Hell, I might try to find me a Vega body or something to stick that in. Or a Chevette. Something light as hell. I built a Chevy Love truck years ago. It was pretty fucking badass. I'd like to find another one of them. Never thought they would be rare. People used to throw them in the trash damn near, but can't find them now. And there's another one I need to... This was a badass engine. It's still a badass engine. It's just fucking disassembled. It popped a head gasket on me and washed between two cylinders, so I gotta take more off the deck. So that's all this fucking block needs, is take a little more off the deck and then fucking take a little off the heads and then put it back together. And that's a pretty good engine. Those are Pro top line heads, 220s. They started out as 220s, but they're about a 99 or 2000 model. Getting kind of old. Old buddy of mine, machine shop back in the day, Tim Brannon Performance. He had a lot of badass drag cars. He had a 68 Chevy step-side pickup truck that was a mid 9-second quarter-mile ride with a small block. That fucking thing was bad to the bone. But he's a hell of a machinist, but I think he's still alive. But I believe he retired years ago. But there was a pair of his valve covers that was on that fucking chicken truck at one time. Had a rubber chicken hanging out of the fucking ass end of it. Had chicken truck and big chrome letters on the door. But it was, funny name, but that fucking truck was serious. Had a Jericho 5-speed in it and shit. And, he coming off the line and that fucker 7,500 RPM and shit. Ride 200-foot wheelie in it. It was a bad truck. And there's another one that I need to get around to. It's a 4-bolt 77 350. And got this 403 here I need to put back together one of these days. 403 Oldsmobile. Pretty good unit. But this is just some shit I'm working on. Got this turbo 475 out of a motorhome here. I'll build that for go behind this 496 big block over here. A few big blocks I'm building. They should be put together here pretty soon. Shit's hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. And I gotta get this big fucker apart and get it done up. That shit never ends. It's a process. But there it is.